Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Partnership Aligned Podcast. So today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Kshama Singhi, and she is an empowerment coach. And we are going to talk today about how can you be your authentic self, your real self within your relationship. Hi, Kshama. Welcome.
Hi, Elana. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. This is one of my favorite topics in general in life, not just in relationships. I love talking about being your authentic self because I feel like the emotional freedom in my life came when I started being my authentic self. And it did happen through my relationship. That's where I did the work, but it ends up permeating into every part of your life. So it doesn't necessarily matter where you start. But I can say that for me, going from someone who wasn't always so honest and upfront about what I was feeling and who I was, sometimes not even to myself, let alone other people, to going to someone who is, I would say, 95% of the time, I am my most authentic self, and it is freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me your story with becoming your authentic self or being your authentic self. How did that come into your life?
So I'm a very strong character, or that is what I used to think.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a mind of my own. I have my own beliefs. I have my own opinions about everything,
As you should.
as you should. So I used to think I'm very authentic, but then I got married. And then I don't know what happened to me. I was not myself anymore.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I think all I was trying to do was be somebody that my ex-husband wanted me to be. All I was doing was trying to please him, trying to please my in-laws, and once I had my daughter, all I was trying to do was trying to be a good mother, which was
Yeah.
completely opposite of being authentic.
Yeah. I can really relate to that. What do you think was underneath that?
I think it was the fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
It was the fear that if I don't do X, Y, and Z, it's a lot of it is got to do with my belief system. So I was coming from the belief that if I don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm not a good housewife, I'm not a good wife, I'm not a good mother if I'm going to a job. If I'm doing a full-time job and a demanding one, I'm not a good mother. And if I am not always there for my family, I'm not a good person at all. So my belief system actually was the root cause of everything that I was doing.
Yeah, that's so good because I think that we grow up with certain beliefs, whether it's culture or parents or school or whatever it is, and we very rarely stop to really challenge them. I mean, as a kid, you don't really have the choice to challenge them, but later on as an adult, very rarely do we stop and say, well, wait a minute. Does
Yeah.
that serve me? Does that work for me? Does that make me happy? Is that even true for me? And I would say a large part of the coaching that I do is helping people look at their beliefs. Your beliefs run your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Everything you do is based on your values and your beliefs, actually.
Yeah.
Even the way you look, a lot of it has to do with your values and beliefs. And
Yeah.
we don't realize this. You realize, I think I learned it the hard way. But yeah, most of us are running on what we believe to be
Yeah.
true.
And without even realizing it, when
Yeah.
I was in coach certification, they said a belief is just a thought that you've had over and over and over so many times that it's like not even a thought anymore. It's just a belief, but that's really what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of the times, one of the beliefs that stops us from being authentic is if I am not acting or looking or doing a certain thing, then I am not good enough.
Yep.
And that fear that I am not good enough, people will reject me, makes us do things that are not aligned with who we truly are.
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to ask you a question that I always ask clients that they have a hard time with. What does make someone worthy?
Nothing. You are worthy.
Right.
It. No ifs,
Right.
no buts, nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Just worthy, right?
Right. I agree. So it's so interesting. I work with a lot of moms And what you're talking about right now is really relevant to what I hear from them, where they say, you know, I feel like I have to be doing this for my family in order to be worthy. I actually talked to a woman today who said, I don't know why I can't just be good to myself. I think it's because I've always equated my self-worth with helping others. And I said, well, that's the answer, right? That's it. But then if you ask these moms, well, what makes your child worthy? It's a totally different answer. And so it's not even like your belief about what makes you worthy isn't always even the belief about what makes everyone worthy. It's
Yeah,
the
everybody
belief about
else.
what makes you worthy. Yeah, but that's so interesting. Why would your worth be based on something different than everybody else?
Exactly. I think the one thing which we, especially as mums, we don't realize is if my cup is empty, I can't pour into anybody else's cup, whether be it my child, whether be it my partner or my parents. You know, if I'm not full of love, I can't give love to my child or to anybody around me, anybody really for that matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we, unfortunately, in today's society, a lot of the times when women look after themselves and love themselves, it's classed as being selfish. So
Mm.
we've kind of developed that feeling that if I'm looking after myself, if I'm doing things for myself, then I'm a selfish person. And a lot of the times, once you become mom, you want to give your children the whole world, right? You want to do
Mm.
anything and everything for them. And the problem comes when we don't know what's the thing to do. But when we think that sacrificing is the right thing for them, when making ourselves unhappy and making them so-called happy is the right thing for them. But what we don't realize is they're not learning from what we are telling them. They're learning from seeing us. I mean,
Yeah.
I when I got married, Elana, I became my mom. And I did not agree with my mom, but I just subconsciously adopted everything that she used to do in a marriage. Give, 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 give. That's what I became. I became my mom without even knowing. It took me
Mm-hmm.
10 years to realize,
Wow.
actually, I'm not who I am.
Yeah. Wow. So powerful, especially this part about it being selfish. I mean, you and I are just so aligned in what we believe. We have a little bit of different verbiage, but exactly the same message and I'll tell you what, I actually think it's selfish not to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I have a 4-year-old son. When I am not taking care of myself, which I'm really happy to say is almost never now, but when I am not taking care of myself, or if I'm going through a hormonal couple of days, shall we say, this poor kid, like I am impatient and I am frustrated and I see him through like a totally different lens. And then once I'm out of that, he could do the exact same thing that pissed me off 2 days later. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
amazing and
Yeah.
adorable. So it just goes to
Yeah.
show. Yeah. So I think it's selfish. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want a mother with good mental health?
Yeah. Who doesn't want a happy person around them? Yeah. Mother,
Correct. Yeah.
partner, anybody, everybody wants a happy person, wants to be in the company of a happy person. And
Yeah.
Elana, I think something that you said is like, it's selfish to not look after yourself. Actually, that is something that people need to understand. I think
Yeah.
it's so true, is because what they don't realize is when you're not looking after yourself, you're becoming this, I would say, horrible person. Of course, it's exaggerated, but in a way, you're becoming this horrible or a bad or a negative person. People don't want to be around you, and you are not only it's not only impacting yourself as in your life that you feel frustrated or angry or upset all the time, but you're having a knock-on effect on everybody around you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you're in your marriage and you lose yourself. What was the moment, if there was a moment that you realized like this is not working for me, I'm not me? Like, was there a pivotal point for you?
Yes, but it was too late. So
Mm.
yeah, it was the end of the marriage basically. So the
Mm-hmm.
marriage ended. I was still hoping that
That's
he'd come.
okay. Listen, it's not too late for you.
No, no, yes, exactly. I'm a much happy person. Let me tell you this. And listening on that, anybody who's going through the same thing, I'm a much happier person right now than I
Mm-hmm.
was when I was married. Having said that, divorce is not always the answer. I want to make sure everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I think no, it was when my marriage ended. I had the time to reflect. I was all by myself, and that is when I realized. So a lot of these aha moments and my real story came through after everything ended. But you don't have to wait to hit the rock bottom.
Right.
I think in a marriage, to your question, if you're already in a marriage, and if you're so used to not being yourself in a marriage or a relationship or any kind of relationship, you don't have to take a U-turn today. You have to start small things in life, small things about yourself. Elana, a lot of the times we are not authentic because we don't know ourselves enough.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know myself enough. So when after my marriage broke, it was my birthday, and I was like, I'm not going to cry for that man. I'm going to make something that I like to eat. And I could not think of something that I like to eat.
Oh, interesting.
I had forgotten what I like to eat. So a lot of the times, basically, we can't be authentic if we don't know who we are, what we like, what are our values, what are our beliefs. We spoke about beliefs. Some of them are good beliefs, some of them are empowering, some of them are limiting us. So I think the first step is start becoming more self-aware.
Yeah. How would one start becoming more self-aware if that's not something they've ever worked on before? How would they do that?
Small steps. Of course, um, it's not going to be a very quick fix, if you know what I
Right.
mean.
Of course.
Yeah, but small steps at a time. Start, take up one activity that you really like to do. It could be dancing. It could be just going out with friends for coffee. Once in a week, do something that you really like to do. And I think the first challenge will be you don't know what you like to do. Like I didn't know what I like to eat. So take a piece of pen and paper and just write down everything that makes your heart feel slightly happy.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to go, wow, yay, I love it, because you're not at that stage, possibly. But even small things that make you happy, even if it's just going in the park with your child.
Yeah. I love that tangible tip. I also think that, I guess along the same lines, like journaling, thought downloading, brain dumping, whatever you want to call it, taking all of your thoughts out of your head, putting it on paper, and then really taking a look at it can be
Yeah,
very powerful.
yeah, absolutely. I prescribe something called vomit journal to my clients. To your point, dumping all your thoughts, keep
Mm-hmm.
writing every night before going to bed. Just keep writing and dump all your thoughts. You'd be surprised how clear your thoughts become in a couple of days.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in first time you write. It may not happen, but you keep doing it. Consistency is the other thing, is consistently practicing what you like. Small steps, but consistent steps. Don't
Yeah.
give up if you did once and it didn't work out, or you did not enjoy it, or you did not realize what you like to do. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Everything takes time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I interviewed a woman a few weeks ago who was talking about, kind of finding herself as well. And she said she would get up every day and write the five characteristics of the woman she wants to be.
Yeah.
So instead of writing who she is, she wrote who she wants to be, and she wrote it every single morning for like a year.
Yeah.
And there's magic in pen and paper.
Yeah.
When you write something down, it's very different than when it's in your head. Because I know a lot of people groan about the writing, I'll say something like, do you want to, will you journal? And they look at me like, oh, if I have to.
Well,
But
I'm glad they say if I have to, because a lot of my class like, nah, that's not my thing. I'm not doing
right.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that sometimes too, but it's not that you have to, it's that you get to. You get to
Yeah.
put, you get to put some things on paper and get some perspective. So, wow.
And that's one thing I think is something to keep in mind is you can't be comfortable and still be at a stage where you're growing. So if
Yeah.
you want to become self-aware, if you want to change things in your life, if you want a transformation, you have to get out of your comfort zone. I'm sorry to
Yep.
say.
Yeah, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, it takes a certain level of discomfort. When your comfort zone becomes uncomfortable, that's when you're ready.
Yes, exactly. And that's going to happen. It's a lifelong thing. Yeah. Every time
Yeah.
you're comfortable, you do something or you take up a challenge that will make you uncomfortable. That's the only way you keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the word authenticity. What does that mean to you?
So authenticity is just being who you are, really. If you are, and owning who you are, I think that's the biggest thing. Like some people will say, oh, you're just lazy. Yeah, I'm lazy. So what?
Mm,
Owning. And if that's who you are, you don't
yeah.
have to listen to people. But if you know that's who you are, then that's who you are. It doesn't matter if how you look. I could be thin, fat, bold, dark, fair, whatever it is. Just own who you are. This is who I am. Take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if somebody's saying something, take it or leave it. Yeah, I'm lazy. Yeah, you want to be around me, it's your choice. You don't want to be around me, it's your choice. I think authenticity gives you so much power. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And suddenly you start seeing everything around your life, everything around you starts to change because you're so authentic and so powerful in your own right.
Yeah. And you get a lot of energy back
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
takes a lot of energy to be inauthentic.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, right. How was I? How am I supposed to behave? Oh, I'm supposed to be this person who is always polite. In which case, if I'm really angry, what do I do?
Right, right. And then it's like, well, she said I was lazy. Oh my God, what does that mean about this? And what does she think about that? And maybe I should call her and say this thing. And maybe I should text. And it's like, whoo,
Yeah.
it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And, we just have this one life.
Yeah.
Like I
Exactly.
have one life. I
Yeah.
really just want to be who I am. And if I don't like who I am, I'm willing to do the work to change that. But while I'm doing that work, I don't need to pretend that I'm someone else.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a very important point, is that it doesn't mean that you stop growing. It doesn't mean you stop changing the things you don't like, but it's also about accepting this is who I am for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will work on it. I may or may not change. I may or may not, become active or, start doing a lot of work, but this is who I am for the moment.
Yeah,
So, and when you're authentic, the right people, the people who accept you for who you are, come in your life.
that's right.
It's almost like, you attract the right kind of people in your life, where you
Yeah.
don't have to pretend, where you don't have to be somebody else, or you don't have to please others. They're already pleased with you
Yeah.
for who you are.
I sometimes hear people, I mean, not in these words, but, basically say, well, if I change or if I am authentic or show people that I've changed, then I might lose this or that or this. And I get that, but I also really just want to bluntly say to those people, like, good, lose those things, those things are not serving you then.
Exactly. And also, I think one of the things I want to ask, when people say, I'm very afraid I'm going to lose, like, what are you really afraid of? If you do
Mm.
lose certain friends in your life, if you do become authentic and especially as a mom, right? If you do become authentic, your child might be surprised because that's not, she is not used to seeing you that way. But eventually, that is going to teach them a lesson. It's going to allow them to be themselves, authentic selves, rather than them learning how to be somebody they are not.
Mm-hmm. I actually think our kids know us better than anyone. I
Oh
think
yeah.
we cannot be inauthentic with our children because, you know, when before I had kids, spending time alone meant spending time just me. Now spending time alone means me and my kid. I mean, I
Yeah.
still get real alone time. Don't get me wrong, but it's like he's with me,
Yeah,
like at my worst. And I mean, I think that our kids know us better than anyone.
absolutely. And
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think you're right. Our kids, of course, know us better than anybody else. But if you're not authentic, Lana, sooner or later you get found out.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
and half of the energy that I was talking about earlier is trying to not get found out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Yeah, and then you have to like be inauthentic when you're covering that up. I mean, it's just
yeah.
exhausting. Yeah.
It's
Okay,
like a
so
lie.
yes, yes. So
Yeah.
this is a relationship podcast. So I want to talk about how being your authentic self can elevate your relationship, maybe even save your relationship. What have you seen in that area?
So when we talk about authenticity, I think in terms of with regards to in being in a relationship, I think there are two things which kind of shine is you're genuine, you're a genuine person, you're genuinely bad, or you're genuinely good, or you're genuinely lazy. Whoever you are, you're genuinely that person. But also you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, it allows for connection.
Yeah.
So if you are, for example, when I'm authentic self and I'm really, really low, when I'm really feeling bad or really feeling sad, and I connect with my partner and I let my feelings show instead of feeling fearful, I'm like, this is who I am. I am feeling very vulnerable at the moment. It kind of builds connection with your partner. You feel closer emotionally, you feel closer to your partner, and it just becomes, and it also gives your partner the permission to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You're opening the doors for others to share their feelings with you as well, to be authentic with you,
Yeah. Which is intimacy.
which is intimacy,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
it's unbelievable. It brings you so much closer to your partner, and suddenly you feel so connected.
Isn't it so interesting how something that we are so afraid of, I mean, so many people are petrified of being vulnerable. Isn't it? It just fascinates me. The thing that we are so scared of is the thing that brings us everything we want.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know when and how this information or knowledge got lost. I don't know what
Hmm.
happened over the period of years, but clearly this is something which we born and brought up is like, don't show your real self, don't show your real feelings. Even when early stages of dating, when you start to like somebody, the first thing you've been told is don't let them know that you like them so much. I was like,
Right.
no, but if you don't let them know, they're not going to respond because even they're thinking, does she like me? What should I do? So yes, I agree. Don't go all over, you know.
Sure.
Uh, yeah, but you have to start sharing a little bit. Be vulnerable. Be okay. That if somebody's going to reject you, if you tell them I like you, and you get rejected, it's fine. What's the big deal?
Right.
You'll
They
find
were they
somebody else.
weren't the one.
Exactly. They were not
Right.
the ones. You will find somebody else. I know it's hard, but that gives you so much power and freedom, like you said.
Yeah. The other thing that I think authenticity does for intimate relationships is you know, if I'm being inauthentic, I am really in my head. I am really kind of trying to plan what's the next thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
How am I going to come off really likable? Like, what can I say to make him feel better or to make sure he knows I love him or whatever it is? And when I'm in my head like that, I'm just not hearing anything.
Yeah.
I'm not present. I'm really not in that moment. And when I have gotten to a place where I'm authentic, it takes a lot of brain energy out of it. I don't need to sit there and figure out what's the next thing I'm going to say. I'm just going to say what
Yeah.
I would say. And so it allows me to actually hear what my partner is saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is like I've worked with so many clients now, Elana, and this is one of the mistakes I've seen happening over and over is sometimes something goes wrong. Inevitably, things will go wrong in a relationship. There will be fights, there will be
Sure.
arguments. Things are going to go wrong. He's going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. That happens all the time. But what we do is we hold on to that mistake so much that, to your point, we're so much in our head trying to make him feel guilty that we forget we forget that we are women. We lose our dynamic energy. We lose our feminine energy, sorry, and we get into this whole masculine energy where we are trying to control what's happening. We are not sharing our feelings. We are feeling vulnerable, we are feeling hurt, and we are not sharing that with our partner. Instead, we are trying to punish them in some sort of way. We are trying to
Hmm.
make them feel guilty, and that sometimes that just goes on for too long.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and that's probably the start of breaking a relationship. So
Disconnect. Yeah.
if you let it go on for too long, you know, that's starting to go downhill if you don't do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're never really able to share openly, then there's disconnect, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I see most with my clients is taking things personally, right?
Mm,
Their partner said something and they take it as an attack.
yeah.
And when we really dive into it and I really start this thought work with them, they see that it was not an attack. And some of them are like shocked. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, like I
Yeah.
really thought it was a fact that he was coming at me about, my parenting or whatever it is. And so another thing that I think authenticity does for us is, using that example, if I know I'm a good mother because I am authentic and I am present and I also know who I am, and you say something that I could misconstrue as you coming at my parenting, if I know I'm a good mother, I'm just not going to take it that way.
Exactly.
Right. Like
Exactly.
I'm just not. Yeah. I have a teacher who says, um, if you tell me that you hate my purple hair, I'm going to look at you like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
But if I think I have purple hair, I'm offended, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's almost like pressing your buttons, right? That's what
Yeah,
is called as pressing your buttons. But that is so true. If you're so confident, and I think one thing I want to say is being a good mother or being authentic does not mean you have to be perfect. I
correct.
think that's something which is very important because people think that they're not perfect, and which is why they can't be authentic. But actually, authenticity is when you're not perfect and you're absolutely okay with that, and you're absolutely okay with your children knowing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is giving them the freedom of not being perfect. It's
Yes,
giving
what a
the
gift.
partner the freedom, because the more pressure I'm putting on myself, that is the same amount of pressure my daughter is going to put on herself as she grows up, because she thinks she needs to be perfect, otherwise everything's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
So it's not about being perfect. Authenticity is definitely not about being perfect.
100%. Yeah, it's the opposite actually. And, you know, to your point, like if I am being inauthentic with my partner and my child witnesses this growing up, they're going to think that that's what love looks like, that that's what they're supposed to do in relationships, that they're supposed to quote unquote appear perfect. I mean, like you said earlier, they do what we do. I watched an amazing TED Talk yesterday and she said, our children cannot be what they do not see. And I was like,
Yep.
stop.
Yeah, I need to watch it. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'll send it to you. It was so good. Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, I mean, I think that it is a gift to ourselves, to our partner, to our kids, to be who we really are. It allows us to be in the moment with our loved ones. It allows us to share ourselves with our loved ones, as opposed to kind of keeping ourselves contained in this box over here so that nobody can get in there and see who we
Yeah.
really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sometimes struggle to understand. So what if somebody sees the real me? So what if somebody sees my flaws, or somebody sees I'm so vulnerable at times. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a strong woman who's always smiling, I've always got things handled. And I was one of them. I probably still am to a certain extent. But, you know, especially in today's day and age, when women are taking up a lot of the roles or a lot of responsibilities, household responsibilities, and they're not relying on men so much, I think we are confused as to what is our role. We've become like, oh, should we be the strong woman who doesn't cry, who's got everything sorted, who doesn't need a man? Or should we be this nice, feminine, magnetic energy who's vulnerable and who knows how to give and who knows how to accept? I think we're
Yeah.
very confused. I think both of
Yeah.
them. I mean,
Yeah. So interesting. Well, I mean, I could talk to you about this for hours, but just for the sake of time, let me just ask you a question that I wanted to make sure I asked, which is, you know, if because I feel like you answered, like if somebody's listening right now and they're like, oh shit, I am inauthentic, their first step, like you said, would be to start writing things down, right? What is it that I think I might like? What is it that I think I might want to try? Who do I want to be? Is there anything else that you would suggest or say to the woman who is kind of like I'm thinking of like women who are in a marriage or a very long-term partnership and they've spent all these years being inauthentic and they're
yeah,
listening to this and they're realizing that, like, how do you make that switch?
yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing, we humans, we need motivation, basically. Okay, and the motivation will come when you realize that by being inauthentic, what is the impact you're having in your life. Till the time we don't have this awareness that, oh, I'm inauthentic, what that means is I'm always worked up, or I'm burnt out, or I'm doing more than I need to do, or I'm not relaxing, or the impact is that I don't have a good relationship with my children or with my partner. I think maybe that is the real thing. The first thing is, what is the impact of you not being authentic in your life? Are you losing your connection with your partner? Are you losing your connection with your children? What else are you losing out on?
Mm,
Write that down. And what will happen if you continue to stay like that? Is this how you want to live the rest of your life?
right.
Is the question. I think that is, but, I don't know if you've heard of Simon Sinek, but he always
Sure.
says, start with the why. When we know our why, that gives us the motivation. So it's not going to be enough. If I tell you to start working on yourself, you'll be like, yeah, yeah, I'll do it. Maybe someday.
Mm-hmm.
But when you realize the impact it's having on you and how it's having a negative impact on your life and your relationships, that's when you start getting motivated to do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really powerful question. What do you think would happen if you just live like this the rest of your life? The answers
Yeah.
can be scary.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah.
might lose your children, you might lose your partnership, you might
Yeah.
lose your relationship, your friends, anything. It could have anything could happen.
Now, on the flip side, what do you think is so scary about being authentic? What do you think people are really afraid of? I know we said fear of rejection is one of them, but I'm sure there are others.
Yeah. It's something which you said. I think the bottom line is you lose the people and the things that are not meant for you.
Mm,
So it might happen, it may not happen. It's not necessary, but it might happen that you become authentic. Your children might go like, "Oh, who are you? I don't want to talk to you anymore." At least for some time, they might do like that. Or your partner might say, "Oh, who are you? I can't relate to you anymore," which
yeah.
is fine. I think that is the bit. That is where we need a little bit of courage and even a lot of support. Is you might lose the things that are not meant for you, that are not serving you. This is what you said, Elana, right? Is that it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't be. I'm never going to advise to go for a divorce, but once you're more authentic, then you can make a more calmer and more informed decision, if that makes sense. Then
Right.
you can act rather than react.
Right. That's why anytime I'm coaching a woman who is thinking about leaving her husband, I always say, you become the best version of you first,
Yeah,
then make the decision.
exactly.
That's what I did. I mean, 100%. And, I have no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah,
And, and I think that I have seen with clients who have less than healthy partners who, once the client starts getting healthy, their husbands will say to them, like, what is this? I don't like this. Like, you used to tend to my every need, and all of a sudden
yeah,
now, like, who are you? Right.
yeah,
And it's uncomfortable and it's awkward. But it's really just about looking, like, there's that meme on Facebook with the caterpillar and the butterfly, and the caterpillar's like, you've changed. And the
yeah.
butterfly's like, yeah, I'm supposed
You're
to.
supposed to.
Yeah, like you're supposed to evolve. You're
Yeah,
supposed to. And if a partner is upset about you becoming a healthier version of you, I find that to be a red flag.
yeah,
Right now, sometimes partners are just confused, and that's fine. But I got to be honest with you. Most of the time, I mean, if you're with the person you're supposed to be with, most of the time, that person will follow suit just
yeah,
on their own time and in their own way. They don't have to
yeah.
do it when you do it or the way that you do it. You
Yeah, it's
can,
almost like you become the leader in your family and the
yeah,
follow your partner, your children, your parents, everybody just follow you, right? It could have this amazing ripple effect.
absolutely. Absolutely. And why not do that? So yeah, so I hear you. Okay, so you're an empowerment coach. What is that?
So I work with a lot of women, mainly purely because I attract a lot of women. Somehow I can connect with them and my story connects with them. But yeah, when women are feeling stuck, rejected, unseen, unheard, exactly everything what we are talking about is because they're not feeling authentic and they're not really living their authentic lives. So I work with these kind of women who are feeling fearful. They can't see their future. They're fearful if they continue like this. What is their future going to be? And it's not a good picture. So helping them get unstuck a lot of the times is just about somebody showing you the direction. Sometimes we are so stuck in our own head, like you said, that we don't know what to do. We can't see things clearly. So
Yeah.
yeah, empowerment coach is nothing but just to give you that power. And the other thing is, a lot of the times we're waiting for somebody else to give us the permission.
Hmm.
You don't, ladies, men, even men, you don't need anybody's permission. Just do what you really want to do. Don't wait. Just do
Yeah.
it. You got the permission. Universe has given you the permission. Just do it.
Yeah. Give yourself the permission.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like an amazing niche. What do you love most about that work?
um I think it's the transformation that my clients go through. And again, it's not all about, I've seen my clients, especially one of them I'm thinking about right now, like she's just transformed her life. When she first started speaking to me, she was ready to get a divorce. She was so unhappy in her marriage. And now she's at her stage where she absolutely loves her husband, and her husband can't stop singing her praises. The relationship has changed so drastically, and her relationship with her in-laws has changed so drastically. So when I see that transformation, it kind of gives me the fuel to keep going as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're making me think of a client too. It like, oh my God, it like makes you high.
Exactly.
When they send you a message and they tell you something that is just a 180 from the first time you talk to them, you're like, who are you?
Exactly.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So for people who want to get in touch with you, I will put all of your information in the show notes, but if somebody's driving or just wants to remember, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Find me on, find my website on my Instagram. I think I'm called Coach Kshama. My website is Coach Kshama. You'll put in the link. But
Mm-hmm.
also there are freebies for anybody who's listening. Is a free ebook on 7 habits of managing a healthy relationship. But also there's a free webinar, especially for women who think that they have to choose between a job and a family life, or for moms who think if they're mothers, they cannot have a career. So it's a free webinar that you can have it all. Really, honestly, you can have it all.
Yeah, absolutely. You can. I have both and it's great.
Exactly.
It's
You
great.
have both.
Yeah.
You have a job and a business, and you're a mother. So you have
Yeah.
more than both. So,
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yes, and a million other things going on behind the scenes.
exactly.
Yeah. But I take care of myself and I'm authentic to myself, which gives me the energy that I need for all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
So
just
it's
to
not
come full
draining you
circle.
out. All of this is not draining you out.
No, it doesn't drain me. And on the weeks that I might feel drained for whatever reason, I pause and I do what I need to do to refuel, whatever that means. And that's something different all the time, by the way. Sometimes that means going to bed early. Sometimes that means, skipping that one thing to go get a workout, like whatever it is for me, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. But you know now, right? You've become so self-aware that you
Yeah, I
know
know.
your
Yeah.
time off and what's going to help you.
Yeah.
You become, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And the more authentic I am, the less I even really need to do that, to be honest with you.
exactly. You're
Yeah.
living the life that you really want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I am.
Yeah.
Well, this was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. I just love when someone comes on and we just align so beautifully with what we believe and the kind of work that we like to do. So I hope that you can come visit us again sometime.
Oh, would love to. Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right. Thank you, Elana. Thank you, everybody, for listening.